in here. Let's take a look at our first multiple choice question here for this topic. So it says here, a restaurant bill is $68. You leave a 15% tip. How much was that tip? Let's go ahead and get into this one. So the one thing that I'll always say is I should not have read that problem from start to finish. The one thing I always say, I'm always, really digging into your brains about is that we must understand the question sentence first. So read the question first. RTQ, read the question. How much is the tip? Everybody, this makes life a lot less stressful because you're opening up your problem solving. You're opening up your problem solving with the goal in mind. If you stay goal oriented, you will reach that goal sooner. So how much is the tip? Okay, cool. So I want to know how much the tip was. So I'm going to say tip equals some number of dollars. I know it's dollars because I see the answer choices, and so I'm good there. So now that I know what I want to know what I have. That's step 2. What do I want? What do I have? What's the connection, right? So I know what I want. What I have here, it says a restaurant bill is $68. So let me write that out. The bill equals $68. And then it says you leave a 15% tip. Okay, sounds good. Let's write that down. Let me just move this down here and say that I left a tip equals 15%. Now, I am going to ask one question, and I want you to either, if you're here live, type it out. If you are by yourself, go ahead and yell it at the top of your lungs. My party people, what is the main idea with that percentage formula? So the main idea is the percent that you apply is the result that you get. So if I write that formula out, percent times original equals the result. This is exactly what we mean here, everybody. What we mean by that main idea is that the percent that you plug in right here, it's going to represent the result over here. So everybody, quick question. If I'm looking at what I want, give me one word, or 2 words actually. What am I trying to find at the end of the day? What am I trying to find at the end of the day? In this specific problem, I want the result. And that result represents what? I want the result, and it represents what? Yeah, it represents the tip. It represents the tip. So if I am to try to find the amount of the tip, what this means, everybody, and I hope that this opens some eyes. What this means is that the percent that we plug in right over here, the percent that we plug in, this has to represent the percent of the tip. This is where we start getting into those questions where, if they're asking you for the sale price versus the amount of the discount, this is how you know what you're actually supposed to plug in. Because I want the amount of the tip, I am going to plug in the percentage of the tip. And everybody, what was that percentage of the tip that we're given here? Yeah, the percent tip that we're given is 15%. So what we're saying is 15% of that bill, of that $68 bill, is going to be the amount of the tip. Again, if you multiply by the percent of the tip, you'll get the amount of the tip. That straightforward right there. So with that, let's do the calculation. Let's see if this will lead us to the correct answer, and then we'll continue moving forward. So here we go. Let's zoom on in. All right, let's get this done. 15% is going to turn into what when we try to calculate? 15% is going to turn into a smooth 0.15. That's right. We're going to end up getting 15% going left twice. And so we have 0.15. And then from there, we're going to multiply by that 68. And so what we need to do is we need to go ahead and just set this up. I'll just do this here on the side. We'll ignore that decimal place, multiplying like normal, and then we'll bring those decimals back at the end. So 8 multiplied by 5, that's going to be 40. Then we have 6 multiplied by 5, which is going to be 30. Carry the 4s, and it gives us 34. Then from here, we're going to put a 0 because we are moving to the next place value. So we have to start where it is. So now we have 8 times 1, which is going to be 8. Then we have 6 times 1, and that's going to be 6. Add everything back together, and we're going to have 0. 4 plus 8 is going to be 12. 3 plus 6 will give us 9. Carry the 1 gives us 10. But we're not done because the last thing that we must make sure to take care of is what again? Yeah, we're going to bring the decimal places back. In this case, we see that it's 1, 2, 1, 2. And so there it is. Our final answer is going to be $10.20. That, my friends, is going to be the amount of the tip. So one more time, everybody, let's make sense of this. We have to make sense of this. What I am saying here is that the percent that you plug into the formula represents the result. So you can use that to your advantage. If I'm trying to find the amount of the tip at the end of the day, hey, that means that if I plug in, if I know what the percent of the tip is, I'm good, because that percentage will lead me to the corresponding amount. Does that make sense, everybody? Before we continue and keep having fun? Again, I'm going to repeat that a million different times as you go through this lesson. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead. Let's keep it going here. Let's take a look